Kristina, what I was really struck about at the very beginning of this, the first part one interview, was how having women talk about their abusive situations that they had been in could really harm them more. And I think Leni and I need to be careful about that. And so thank you for that awareness of when we have women talk about things that have been really troubling, disturbing in their past. I also think of all the women who came forward about Epstein and how people, well, why didn't they come forward sooner? Or who cares if they tell their story over and over again? But yes, how that can be so damaging and just create that loop. And it's hard then to move forward and out of, right? That story remains. So I want to hear a little bit about what moved you forward and also the incredible work you're now doing.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I had, I don't know if you've read that book by Joe Dispenza, Becoming Supernatural, but he talks about that, like some of his patients that, when they would keep telling the story, like that woman whose husband committed suicide, and then how sick she got in her body. Remember, like she couldn't walk at some point. And we don't realize that the body keeps a score. It's a book about that. The body keeps a score. So when you have something traumatic happen to you, if initially your mind takes it in, the energy of the trauma, but the mind has a hard time grasping it, so it pushes it down into the body. Somatically is what is happening. It's going into the body and it's affecting different organs and areas. So for like someone that suffered from narcissistic abuse, this is like what I experienced, it affects like your liver, gallbladder. So then people start having issues with gallstones and stomach issues, like gut issues, or they could have even like fear affects your kidneys. You start having problems with urinary tract issues, and for me, like the effect of that only 2 weeks trauma that I dealt with him, I went to the gynecologist and I had a host of issues from that high cortisol I dealt with. Besides, my blood pressure was like over the roof, but I had like all these other ailments having to do with my reproductive area. I grew fibroids, I had yeast, I had a bacterial infection, I had a urinary tract infection. All these things affected my body, and stomach issues that I didn't have before. And it takes a while to like heal the body of this. And so I started looking into what kind of energy healing I could do, because the talk therapy wasn't cutting it. I would talk and tell my story and it would just trigger, and I'd feel it in my body. My chest would get tight, my throat would like close up, and that's like your body is like speaking to you, telling you like you're triggering me again, and like how do I get this out? And this is where I started doing energy healing, breath work. Breath work was very powerful for like shedding this energy out of the body. And I had heard about Kundalini activation, so I went to a healer in San Diego that was doing these. And this is the energy that I had with my ex. Like when we were together, we were activating each other's Kundalini energy, like I was saying, and that would give us this state of bliss, this feeling of bliss. So when I went to this class, it was like everyone was in there laying down, and she was activating people with her hands, and people were crying and screaming and shaking their whole bodies. And I was like, well, this is what I feel like I could do. I could probably do this because it's already activated in me. So I started training in this Kundalini activations. And
may I ask, how long ago did this happen to you?
It was 3.5 years ago.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
It's fairly new.
Yeah, and really only it's been 1.5 years that I've been free of him being around, because he stalked me for a good 1.5 years here in Baja, until I was able to get a restraining order. Well, even with the restraining order, he still didn't leave.
Gosh.
Because he had he had so much abilities with my energy, you know. And that's when I realized, like, me pulling my power back from him, like, we connect through energy with cording. So we're connecting, like you and I, all of us are, when we have conversations, we're actually cording to people our energy. And so when I did this work to like pull my energy back, I'm literally removing these cords from him. So he was like siphoning my energy to be able to manifest all these things that he was manifesting after we split up. And then 3 months later, everything started to fall apart that he had manifested because he was using my manifesting abilities. Yeah.
Well, and your energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your bliss. And
yeah.
So to women that are in the same situation as you, what is your message? What can you advise them?
Well, I as part of my coaching and healing program in the Sparkle Method is I do energy healing that helps women to call their energy back and cut the cords from abusive, toxic people. And I have clients that I've done one session on and they're like better. Like one session, they go from crying in their bed and not being able to get up, and the next day they're like back to work and they're focused, and the heartbreak is kind of a distant memory. Mine took a little longer because of this Kundalini energy I was telling you we had, but from women that I've worked with now, it's like, and it's not just that they feel better, but they actually are able to start manifesting again, and they're like manifesting new jobs and, you know, new places to live, and like all these magical things are coming to them because they pulled all that energy and power back to them, and they're no longer giving it away to these other people. It's like it all comes back to you. And so I help them also, because I'm sure you've heard about people that stay in these toxic relationships and they keep going back to the person, right?
Yes.
And sometimes on average it takes like 7 times for them to finally break free.
Why do you think that is?
So I know it's a spell. It's literally it's an energetic spell that they're under, and and scientifically it has to do with our hormones. And when you're in the love bombing phase, you get lots of oxytocin and you get a lot of dopamine, and that's the bonding hormone. And then when they become abusive, you get hit with cortisol. So it's just like having an addiction to a drug. You have the highs of like feeling good, and then you get the lows when you come off, when you run out of the drug, that you need more of the drug to feel better. So that's why we stay in these relationships, because even though like they're only abusive once in a while, and most of the time they're nice. Like if they were abusive all day, every day, I think most people would leave, but it's like most of the time it's only partially. Yeah, and you're wanting hopeful. Yeah. And you're wanting that person that you met in the beginning, like that kind, loving person. Oh, and they just got angry because they're stressed at work, and oh, they yelled at me because I did something wrong. You know, we tend to like take the blame for their moods, and that you know, I think a lot of women I work with don't even realize they're in an abusive relationship either, because they're not being physically abused. They may just be getting screamed at. Well, that is abuse.
Absolutely.
And even there's covert abuse where someone's just criticizing you, you know, and that I realized like the damage that it did to my body just from his, like he just all day every day was insulting me in that 2-week period, comparing me to this other woman, and that's what affected my womb the most, because our womb is our source of our feminine ego, and so we end up having a lot of issues with our womb space when someone is criticizing, someone we love is criticizing us and putting us down.
Do you think that if you have, not to mean that you don't have a strong or didn't have a strong sense of self, but do you think if somebody had a strong sense of themselves, that that type of abuse could not be let in? Or does it even matter?
Well, it's so manipulative and covert that they they don't start out being abusive. They're like very loving and kind, like, and you wouldn't even know that they were abusive most of the time, and most of their friends and family don't know that they're abusive types. Like I think most of my ex's friends wouldn't have even believed that. But then when I talked to his ex-wife, I found out the abuse that she suffered with for 12 years. So they're very they don't really show it on the outside a lot of times, and again, like, they start out, it's a pattern. They start out with this like love bombing, where they're like very mine was
Term.
yeah, it's called love bombing. Like, mine was over the top with the love bombing, and that I found out from my therapist. Well, that's a red flag. And I'm like, but I like to be treated like a queen.
Right,
Like, I like
yes.
my man to bring me my coffee in bed and like cook for me, and he did all the cooking and cleaning and shopping and
Wow.
just like carried everything. Like,
So it's
He
almost
was-
like a Jekyll and Hyde.
Well,
it totally is. Yeah.
he was good at masking what was the
Mhm.
truth about himself.
Right.
And you had given away so much of your love and energy, and he was just sucking that out.
And I
Right.
think also that he was reflecting me back onto him. Like, my energy was also putting a glow on him because he looked better. And I know a lot of the women I work with, they'll say, like, I had one that was like crying over her, ex, and looking at his photo on her phone and just like, isn't he handsome? And then I did my energy session on her, and boom, the next day she's like, oh my God, he's like a troll.
Well, so you took away the mask.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The mask dropped,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
Okay, so tell us about the work you're doing with women now.
Yeah. So I do sparkle retreats, and then I also do one-on-one coaching, and I have this program. It's a 6-month program called the Sparkle Method, where I take them from either they're just getting out of a relationship, or they're or I have helped some get out. I've actually lately gotten a lot of women out of toxic relationships. It takes some time for them to actually realize they are in an abusive relationship, and then once I start pointing out these things, then they're like, oh yeah. But I still have some women that are like, well, he's not bad all the time. But anyways, so I do coaching, and then I also do this activation. It's the Kundalini activation. So it's really and it works for all kinds of healing. So not just that, but it helps to like clear your chakras, and it gets them activated so that you're raising your vibration. So I don't know if you've seen the chart of the level of our frequencies, the frequency scale, where at the bottom is shame.
Steve Hawkins?
Yeah. Yeah, shame is
Which
one
is
of the
lowest form
the
of
lowest
energy.
yes.
Yeah.
So what I do, I specialize in with somatikas, who I was trained at for sexology. We do practices called de-shamify. So when I work with someone, that could be coaching them on how to release the shame for anything. It could be religious shame, sexual shame. They could have sexual abuse trauma, or even just falling for, an abuser and getting stuck. Women have shame about that they fell for this trap, and that's one of the first things that I do is I help them release the shame.
Go on.
Yeah, okay, so and then the energy healing helps to clear the trauma out of the body. So they will, when I'm doing the energy clearing, they might shake, they may cry, and it also do dance, like, because I've been a burlesque dancer for like 15 years, so I include like sexy dancing into my retreats. And dance is another great way of like shaking stuff out of the body. Like I was also a belly dancer for years, and doing the shimmying is actually, now that I've looked into different somatic healing programs, shimmying your body is a great way to like shake out dense energy from trauma. And that I also have one of those vibrating pads that I stand on every day, you know, like that shakes your lymph system to clear energy. And then we also do fun things on the retreat. Like I take them on a wine valley tour. We do a spa day. We might go horseback riding on the beach. And then one of my big things, I feel like a lot of women don't experience receiving pleasure or just receiving from men. Like, I think we've been trained for so long that we're supposed to take care of our man and all that. But I am on the other end where I feel like I'm a queen and men should take care of me.
But it's a give and take. So
it's a give and take.
So what do you give in return?
Yeah, so I trained manservants, and I did this. I started doing this a few years back when I had my hotel in Ojai, because I would do all these women's weekends, and they would want some male entertainment, and I was like, that's not so fun, the male entertainment. So I trained these men to just serve the ladies at the retreat and serve them drinks and bring them, you know, food or make plates of food for them and give them compliments, massage, like just receiving care and attention at my women's retreats, and getting them used to this idea of being cared for by a man, especially for women that have suffered with abuse. Because for me, like, I didn't want to have that idea in my mind that all men are abusive, all men are cheaters. I had the realization that it was something within me, my frequency, that was attracting this type into my energy field, because I made the list, right? I made that list.
Right, the list.
And I was like, why did I go wrong with the list? And I looked over my list again. I put drama free on there, and I got drama for free.
Oh, wow. So again, to be careful of what we manifest and the words that we use in that, right?
Yes. But I also think that it was, you know, I look at it as like he was the person that I needed to do the healing work to like heal myself from attracting that energy. Because when I look back, I realized like most of the men I was meeting were that energy. And then, you know, I had to look back at my childhood, like, well, why did this energy feel familiar? Well, it's because my father was one of these. But, you know, growing up, I thought I had a great childhood. My dad yelled once in a while. Whose father didn't yell, you know? But his energy was more directed to my mother, you know, yelling at her. But I didn't really consider myself growing up in a, you know, having a bad childhood. But it was enough to have that energy feel familiar. So when I met a man, he felt familiar because he felt like my father, right? And I never thought like I needed to do this healing work to stop attracting that having that feel normal in my nervous system. So I had to like retrain my nervous system that what a healthy man feels like.
And so have you experienced a healthy man?
Yes, but I'm still being very picky, but I am attracting like healthy, kind, like loving men. I'm being very picky now, you know, because I know how
because
powerful.
you deserve it.
I do, and I know how powerful I am. I know my abilities to manifest will fold into their energy, so they have to be of the utmost integrity.
So how often do you do the retreats?
I do about, well, it just depends, like 3 or 4 a year, but I also collaborate with other women that are in the healing arts, and we do couples retreats,
And where do you do them?
I have a villa here in Baja.
Can you, since we're coming to the end of this interview,
Yeah.
unfortunately, can you tell us a contact number or email that you'd like people to, if they want to get in touch with you?
Oh yeah. So I have my website, Magic Love Coach. And I'm
Magic
also-
Love Coach.
Yeah, and I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as the Magic Love Coach.
Okay.
And TikTok.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kristina. This has
Thank
been
you.
wonderful. Thank you.
Wow.